Hi, it's Dwyer, dwyervip.com, gamblersadvisory.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Let's talk about the NBA. These are initial thoughts. We're looking at the 2015-2016 season. I'm making this video as of 8:28 a.m. Pacific time on October 23rd, 2015. Right? You want to be aware of the date because players get injured, things change. Right? Injuries could easily, and late developing information could easily change the prognosis on many teams, right? So just know this video is made on October 23rd. Now, let me make a few points. I have some built-in biases. First, I'm a skeptic of rookies. I believe that a lot of these rookies look great in college. When they get to the pros, many of them are over their heads, right? Many of these guys simply can't play, right? I don't care where the guy was picked. It could be fifth, it could even be first, right? My bias leans toward veterans. I'm more impressed when I see a dependable veteran join a team than when I see one of these rookies. Now, let me say this. In terms of this rookie class, I keep hearing about this Justice Winslow guy. I didn't think the guy was all that in college. I don't understand what the guy is going to bring to the pros that he wasn't able to bring in college. I certainly don't view that guy as a savior. I'm not sure if that guy's an all-star, right? Let's talk about the first pick of the draft, Karl-Anthony Towns. Now keep in mind, this guy's a 7-footer, right? 7-footer, first pick of the draft, couldn't be picked higher. Did you know that in the preseason, his last 5 games, this guy is shooting less than 43% from the floor? Less than 43%. When I look at this guy, I'm not exactly thinking of Shaquille O'Neal. Let me go one step further. Did you know, in terms of this guy's assists, that over the last 5 games, and we're talking about the first pick of the NBA draft, this guy is averaging less than 1 assist a game? Okay, people are going to say, Rich, you're being unfair here. He's a big man. He's not a point guard. All right, let's look at a big man stat. Blocks. This guy's averaging less than a block a game. He's not exactly Dikembe Mutombo, but yet he's the first pick of the NBA draft. If you're in a fantasy pool, you need to look at these preseason numbers. Don't look at the guy at Kentucky, where he's playing for a loaded team filled with first-round picks, and so the game came to him, right? Look at what he's doing in the NBA. As I said, if you're in a fantasy pool, you need to be aware of the fact that this guy, over his last 5 preseason games, is averaging less than a block a game. So let's talk about the moves that I think really do warrant greater consideration than looking at this rookie class and saying, oh, we just picked up Karl-Anthony Towns. Let me say this. In the East, I'm very impressed by Corey Joseph going from the Spurs to the Toronto Raptors. I'm also impressed that the Raptors re-signed Kyle Lowry. I feel that only 4 teams in the East really have a shot at winning the conference. One are the Cavs. They just played in the NBA Finals. The other 3 are Chicago, Toronto, and Atlanta. Right? Let's remember, Atlanta actually picked up Thiago Splitter. Right? Atlanta was actually one of the teams with one of the best records in the conference last year. Now, the Bulls concern me a little bit. Forget public opinion. Let's just talk gambler to gambler. Isn't Derrick Rose hopelessly overrated? Derrick Rose to me is not the best player on the team. He's not the second best player on the team. He's not the third best player on the team. If you ask me to name the 3 top Bulls, I would name, and you could juggle the order any way you like. Butler, Noah, Paul Gasol. That's the heart and soul of this team. It's not Derrick Rose. Now the problem is the team has to sell tickets, right? The problem is Derrick Rose was raised in Chicago. He's an easy sell to the public, right? He was the first pick in the draft. You already know what I think about first picks in drafts, right? He was the first pick in the draft coming out. On volume shooting, he put up some numbers in the past. He won an MVP, right? In my opinion, if he's taking away shots from guys like Gasol, Noah, and Butler, he's hurting the team. Now, it's a big issue because Chicago has a new head coach. You know, let's hope that the coach is able to be bold and is able to sit down Derrick Rose if Derrick Rose starts hurting this team. Chicago has talent. I'm just wondering about the chemistry, right? The fact that, you know, the media and press seem to view Derrick Rose as adding a lot of value to the team. I'm not even sure if he does that, just to be as blunt as possible, right? And I just need to make sure that in a town that has an aggressive press corps, right? Chicago reporters are no joke, right? There's a long tradition in that city of being tough, right? In a tough town, I just need to make sure that this first-year coach, dealing with all of these veterans, is able to hold it together. So just know, in the East, if I had to pick a top four, it would be the Cavs, Chicago, Toronto, and Atlanta. Now let's talk about the West. Let's talk about a move that I think is meaningful. Matt Barnes has now joined Zach Randolph and Marc Gasol, and Marc Gasol is probably, in my opinion, the league's best big man in Memphis, right? I think Memphis is one of those teams that you need to look at. I think Matt Barnes is a veteran like Corey Joseph who adds a lot of value to whatever team he plays for, right? Think of him kind of the way you think of Andre Iguodala, right? These guys, you know, they might not be the face of the franchise, but these are the guys adding a lot of wins to the total. Now in the West, I see 5 teams with a shot. The Clippers are not one of them, right? Let me just say this about the Clippers. I think DeAndre Jordan signed with Dallas initially for a reason, right? I think Chris Paul is a hard guy to play with, right? I think the Clippers have certain structural problems they can't do anything about, right? Paul Pierce, who's joined the Clippers, isn't going to be playing defense anytime soon, right? He's a little bit older now. DeAndre Jordan isn't going to start hitting free throws anytime soon, right? Jamal Crawford isn't going to play defense anytime soon. To me, the Clippers have issues. The Clippers have personality problems. You're going to put Lance Stevenson in the celebrity culture that is Southern California. How did Lance's personality work out in Indiana, in Charlotte? Right? So I'm placing the Clippers on the side of the road. I think they're overrated. The teams I like in the West, the obvious choice are the San Antonio Spurs. Then you have, of course, the defending champion Golden State Warriors. We'll get back to them. I like Memphis. Oklahoma City, but you want to put an asterisk next to Oklahoma City. We'll get back to them. And Houston, I believe Houston made one of the most important offseason moves. And that's by picking up Ty Lawson. Right? I think that's a huge addition. Huge. Right? The problem, of course, is it's a new situation. There's going to be a period of adjustment. And Ty Lawson has had some off-the-court issues. You need to Google those issues. right? The other problem, of course, is Ty Lawson has a big man, Dwight Howard, who isn't blessed offensively, but yet who's going to want the basketball, and who has prima donna status in Houston, right? So Lawson is going to have to, diplomatically, find a way to give the ball to guys like James Harden, who can do more with it than Dwight Howard, without hurting Dwight Howard's feelings. That's going to be a delicate balance. Just understand, though, that roster is loaded. Now let's talk about issues that are out there that teams are trying to, keep in the background. You got two huge back problems that could have big-time consequences for their teams. The first is LeBron James's back problem. Folks, I'm not buying the statements issued by the Cavaliers that LeBron James is going to be 100% healthy day one. I'm not buying it. He's already missing the preseason. He's already gotten a shot in his back. I'll tell you what, when a guy is hurt in October, how's that wound going to heal by February or March when the guy's trying to play through it? We all know, too, there have been some excellent players, great players, who suddenly had back problems and who gradually had the effectiveness leave their game. I'm a Knicks fan, so I'll say Larry Johnson, LJ from back in the day, right? Larry Bird, Charles Barkley, right? Big time names. I'm just telling you, it's very hard to ignore on a basketball court a sore back. Let's also look at the Cavaliers, right? Let's face it. Without LeBron, they're not the same team. Without LeBron, you're tearing up your bracket, aren't you? Right? Pay close attention to that LeBron back injury. It's, to me, one of the biggest stories in the league. Another back injury that also is one of the biggest stories in the league as I see it is the back injury to Warriors coach Steve Kerr. Keep in mind, Alvin Gentry, Kerr's number 2, Kerr's vice president, so to speak, on that team, right? His assistant coach from last year is gone. You know the Warriors like to chuck up a lot of shots from the outside, from 3, right? You understand that a team that's shooting a lot of outside shots, that's taking a lot of threes and stuff like that, they need their coach, because that scene could get sloppy quickly. Fortunately, the Warriors don't have anyone like Derrick Rose who would shoot them out of the gym, right? Who would look at a real shooter, Steph Curry, popping Jays from 3 and then think, hey, well, Steph's taking a bunch a game. Why don't I take a bunch a game, right? A Josh Smith would finish the Warriors, wouldn't he? Right? Because the Warriors are depending on judgment and accuracy from the outside. Now, my point to you is this. If you're a Warrior fan, you better hold Steve Kerr, right? An excellent coach. You better hope you have that excellent coach back. Because if you don't get him back, that team might fall apart. Right? Let me just say this, too. OKC. Let's talk about them. I'm not buying the degree to which everyone is convinced that Kevin Durant with a foot problem, right? Let's remember, foot problems are fatal in basketball if they're recurring. Right? Bill Walton, foot problem, ends up losing his career. Andrew Toney, foot problem, ends up losing his career. Right? It's impossible for an NBA player to not use his feet. You're telling me KD has had significant foot problems He's coming back, and everyone is expecting him to average 30 minutes a game? That's ridiculous. I know it's a contract year for him, but I gotta tell you, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if his feet are gonna respond the way he wants them to. You need to put KD, in my opinion, on a Greg Popovich type of minute restriction. He shouldn't be out there playing significant minutes, because I'll tell you what, his entire career will be in jeopardy if he suffers another foot problem to the same foot. Right? So, I'm concerned about KD. Isn't he a big part of everyone's projections on OKC? Let's talk about Russell Westbrook. I'm concerned about him too. This guy's a super athlete. He runs up and down, he jumps, he's doing everything. He plays a very intense game, doesn't he? Very physical, very demanding on his body. Now, you and I know there's a reason why older guys don't play that game. It's because their bodies can't hold up for 82 games. Right? Well, Russell Westbrook's body's breaking down now. He missed time last year, didn't he? How do you know that Westbrook and Durant are going to be healthy all year when it didn't happen last year? Who are OKC's top two players? If it's these two, you need to put a question mark next to OKC. Sure, if the stars align, if Durant comes back and he's playing 30 minutes a night, Westbrook comes back, he's there every day. Right? Yeah, I would say talent-wise, OKC has a chance to win the West. How likely is that going to happen? I have my doubts. Right? Let me say this too. The San Antonio Spurs. I know everyone is, expecting them to win a lot of games. Look at the age on this team. Now, they're my pick, by the way, to win the NBA title next year. But look at the age on this team. Right? Tim Duncan, David West, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili. All of these guys are key parts of this team. Right? All of these guys are a little bit older. We know Greg Popovich's coaching style. We know he's a guy who will sit down guys every few games. Right? He'll put guys on minute restrictions in games, and he'll sit guys down every few games. The over-under on the Spurs is 58.5 games. That's way too high, isn't it? Especially when you know the coach is a guy who's more interested in resting players to get ready for the postseason than he is putting up wins just to have some kind of, benchmark for the team. Right? This team's about championships. It's not about image. This team's too old to be trying to prove to themselves that they could win 59 or 60 games. Given a choice between going for win number 60 and resting Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, so they're fresh for the first game of the playoffs, I think we all know which choice Greg Popovich would make. On NBA futures, I think you need to take the under 58.5. I've heard some wise guys talk about this play, Scott Spritzer in particular, talk about this play. I think it might be the best futures play on the board in the NBA. I think you need to take the under 58.5 wins on the San Antonio Spurs. Don't get me wrong, the Spurs are going to be one of the elite teams in the NBA this year. But when you see an older team like this with a coach who's interested in winning postseason games, not regular season games, right? Then you have to say to yourself, okay, 58.5, that's really built for perfection. Not a lot of teams get to 59 wins. Very, very few. Right? Even if this team has the talent to get to 59 wins? Are they going to push the players during the regular season to get there? I say no. I like the under 58.5 wins on the futures on the San Antonio Spurs. Okay? So, that's how I see it. Let me hear from you. Right? This is a gambler's forum. I hope you leave your insight, your picks, your plays, your proposed bets in the comment section to this video. Thanks for stopping by.